This is a short video about my visit to the Seashore Trolley Museum on August 27, 2023. I'm focusing on the Talbot Loop, where the streetcar 1160 is making quite a bit of noise. And on the later part of this video, there'll be an explanation why noise is made and possible solutions to noise.
Okay.
Oh, okay. That's why you do that.
Huh?
That's why you do that, because now it says do not enter, right?
Right. No one else is allowed out.
Okay.
Just a brief safety reminder to keep hands, arms, cameras inside the car at all times and to be seated while we are in motion.
Okay.
Tickets, please.
No, honey. I'm gonna give you your ticket. You gave me your ticket punch. Thank you.
Welcome to Talbot Park. We call this location Talbot Park because a family named Talbot donated several acres of land to the Seashore Trolley Museum to make it possible for us to build this turnaround loop. I could discuss a little while why the streetcar squeals when it goes around curves, but I have to discuss physics and mathematics and all that stuff, which nobody really wants to listen to. So
I do.
maybe a little later on one. But we were riding on, we're on the route of the old Atlantic shoreline, which served southern Maine back around the turn of the last century. The Atlantic shoreline had its beginnings in Sanford, which is about 20 miles that way towards the west. It was owned by a textile mills. There were thousands of people who were employed by these textile mills in the Sanford area. They had waterfalls to provide water power. They were reasonably near a railroad, the Boston and Maine Railroad, to ship the finished cloth to market in big cities, Boston, New York City, and the like. But they needed a way to get the materials, cotton, the wool from the railroad station to the mills about 2 miles, and then bring the finished cloth back the 2 miles to the railroad. So they built their own private railroad, and they used electric power because they could get hydroelectric power. In other words, a trolley car line. The passenger service was added a little bit later. But we don't know whether the reason was because they thought they could make a little bit more money that way, or because they were required to provide service to the public in exchange for running the tracks in the streets. They later expanded the line eastward to the coast with the loading docks at Cape Porpoise. The north-south parts were added still later. We are riding on the northern section, which ran from Biddeford down to Kennebunkport, where it would cross the east-west part of Stanford, and it actually continued further on down to the New Hampshire border. They had thriving freight business along the entire route, coal being the primary product, plus passenger service. Maine had a good tourist season back then, as they do now, and the trolley service provided half-hour service during the really busy times, and 1 hour service for most of the day during the not so busy times. Passenger service on this particular branch ran from about 1904 to 1927. And a few years later, the freight service also ended because motor trucks and cars and buses became more popular once paved roads were developed, and that took away the business on the railroad portion. Most people worked 6 days a week, well, perhaps half a day on Saturday, but still they had to commute, and the trolley cars made it very convenient for people who may have lived in an area without too many good paying jobs. I think Kennebunkport was probably one of those areas, being primarily farming and fishing, whereas in Sanford you had the mills, and in Biddeford, Saco, there were factories, and then better paying jobs could be had, and the streetcar service made it possible for, in maybe about half an hour to 45 minutes time, travel the 8 to 20 mile trip, which would be totally impractical unless you had your own horse and buggy, which most people did not, or totally impractical to walk those distances. Thus, the idea of a streetcar line bringing people into the city to work and then commute back out to homes a little distance away happened here in Maine in the same way, and the same reason in big cities like Chicago, Boston, Philadelphia, New York, and the like. People usually worked 6 days a week, but on Sundays, either the streetcars sat idle or they had to keep some of them running, carrying almost nobody. And the streetcar companies thought to themselves, how can we get people to ride the streetcars on a Sunday? One idea was to have a recreational park, such as you see a likeness of that here. Picnic tables, a bandstand or gazebo, and they would also have such things as athletic fields, and if there was a pond or at the beach, it would be an excellent place for people to go swimming and have added enjoyment. Later, it wasn't too much later that the streetcar companies thought, why not make an amusement mecca? They had electricity, they had motors, they had controls, the things just what you need to get a merry-go-round or Ferris wheel or other amusement rides. And the streetcar companies got the amusement park business going. Now, not only did they get the nickels from people riding the trolley to and from the recreational area, they also collected money for riding the rides and buying the hot dogs and fried clams and the like. And Sunday, could now become a pretty good business day for the streetcar companies. I can try to answer questions about Seashore Trolley Museum or public transportation. Did you have?
So when you're talking about those tight radius turns, so basically is that a common solution, putting grease on them
Yeah.
in a situation like that?
They've experimented. Boston has quite a few. They have two places that are real short curves, and they tried spraying water on it so the wheel goes through, and that's worked pretty good. Except we have very cold winters.
Right.
So it's all right in summer and spring and fall,
Yeah.
but come wintertime they were having problems with it. So
Looking to move to Talbot.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're all set.
All right.